and undermine the Ayatollahs with Disney and Kim Sang from North Korea is no match for the Spice Girls. Now, I'm just saying something that is clear-cut. And do you really need the gory details to be put together in an Arrival series DVD for you to understand that this has always been the intention to corrupt you from your traditional values? I think that is one point. Then, of course, even with regard to the DVD itself, I think we need to be able to discern some of the aspects which might contain an aspect of truth and some of it which is based on conjecture, and inshallah we'll try to prove that as we go along.
Yeah, I think that's a key point here, because a number of emails coming in saying that, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, that we all know there's this clash of civilizations. You've got the Muslims on one hand, and you've got the powers that be on the other hand, and all the series or this movie is doing is highlighting what we know exists, but just giving us the details of how it exists. But I think it's important what you're saying there, Maulana, that it's not, we're assuming that everything is true in terms of you know, how they go about doing things, but that is not necessarily so. We're going to come to this aspect, which I think is key, that how authentic is the information anyway. But just before that, you want to comment on this quickly?
Yeah, Maulana, I think again, you know, we just got to marvel at the text of the Quran. It's so encompassing. I mean, the lottery also markets itself as helping many organizations, you know. Let's not forget that. And perhaps they have. But does that make the pros more than the negatives? Does that now say that so many people have been empowered, been taken out of poverty, have been given homes and that? And again, let's just reflect and marvel at the text of the Quran. يَسَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. I mean, it cannot be spelled out so more louder and more clear. I'm not going to deny these are hard realities. These are individuals, and I respect their views who have called in and have made it very clear that they have changed for the better, and alhamdulillah. But I think our get-together here is what we are saying in an official capacity as a panel of scholars. We cannot advocate the viewing of this DVD simply because selected members had positive benefit. So if that happened, so be it. We will never, in an official capacity, you could well come and argue and say, I had taken alcohol in moderation, and you know what, it has resolved my permanent headaches and it has given me fitness. And even the Quran in its subtle tone condones that, in the sense, وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ, there's multiple, and if you go into the aspect of nakira, there's so many benefits. So Allah said, they ask you about alcohol and intoxicants, and they ask you about gambling. Tell them we agree it has few benefits. We're not denying it. But the key principle is وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. The evil outweighs the good by far. So I'm sure the selected people that had some benefit, alhamdulillah, whatever brought you closer to Allah, good luck to you. But in an official capacity, we will not use this as a means of bringing a person closer. Like we would say, listen, there is a lecture program, come here, inshallah your life will change. We're not going to give somebody and circulate this DVD or this episode to say, you know what, view this, hopefully it will turn for the better. No, that's an isolated case, that's an exception, and that's not something we can formally advocate.
Ibrahim Sahib, there's two aspects with regards to authenticity. The one is obviously the Islamic aspect, Islamic issues that have been brought to the fore, and how authentic is that. But the other is the so-called facts, all about the Illuminati and the Freemasons and your Rockefellers, and how, you know, Dajjal has got this whole system in place and how everybody's controlling everything. That in itself, how authentic is it when it comes to the arrivals?
Yes, I think we will also bring about it towards the end of the program, about this whole aspect of Freemasons, Illuminati, complete control over what is happening. They have so much control that they will be able to do this. We are helpless pawns in what they intend doing. That aspect, how it impacts upon our iman, how it makes us despondent, also an important point. It takes us away from introspection. I think towards the end we will definitely bring that up. How does it take us away from introspection? It's so easy. Well, we can't do nothing. We throw up our hands in the air to say that, well, the Freemasons have got such control. Therefore, we don't look at our own conduct to see how much our own conduct, our own shortcomings have actually contributed to the situation the Muslims find themselves in. By just saying, well, the Freemasons have done this and the Freemasons have done that. Just to say that we can't accept, although people are saying, we have to be careful with whom we gain facts from that will alter our iman, the way Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Abid Sahib has made mention. Innamal ilmu bit-ta'allum. Bukhari makes mention that ilm is through the means of learning from authentic sources and authentic people. We will be very careful with whom we invest our money. we should be even more careful with regard to whom we invest our iman with. And this particular aspect, it's about much of the whole series is also about Dajjal. Now, one aspect with regard to Dajjal has been made mention about the hadith which appears in Sahih Muslim, that Dajjal will emerge on the road between Iraq and Syria. Then the Sahaba asked, Ya Rasulullah, how long will he stay on earth? Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said 40 days. Out of that 40 days, one day will be like a year, one day will be like a month, one day will be like a week, and the rest of his days will be like the normal days. Sahaba asked, Ya Rasulullah, that day which is going to be like a year, how will we perform our salat in that particular day? And Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam replied, calculate it according to its extent, the way you read your 5 times salat. Now, when you look at that hadith of our beloved Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the producers make this claim with regard to Dajjal, that, firstly, according to us, Dajjal is a person. From the hadith which of Tamim Adari, he is in some way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept him. He will emerge when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the permission, and when it is according to the plan of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But yet we find this whole series making mention that Dajjal has already emerged, that the Dajjal civilization is already in place. Then it says the first day of Dajjal represents his rule in England starting in 1900 of the Common Era. Yet, the continuous monarchy of England is dated from 1829. But of course, sometimes, and this is a problem with regard to this whole aspect, you have to create a sensationalism around the story that you are trying to create. So it says, although it starts in 1829, the English monarchy, but yet what do you find is that it says the first day represents his rule in England in 1900, the second day represents his rule in America starting in 1917, and the third day represents his rule in Palestine starting in 2001. All of a sudden you see, now what the youngsters got to realize, what they are regarding to be that this is going to change our mind, change our life, what impact it has with regard to how it differs from what the Quran and Hadith has told us.
Now, one of the moments of Mawlana Ibrahim spoke was about some of the inconsistencies as far as the so-called facts are concerned, more from a worldly perspective in terms of the Illuminati and how they're controlling and how they interpret certain things with regards to Dajjal. But from an Islamic perspective also, there are some serious concerns. I think the one caller alluded to the fact that, unjustifiably and unjustly they lay blame with regards to the death of Hassan radiallahu anh at the feet of Muawiyah radiallahu anh. Also, one of the SMSs and many of the emails have said that they have one episode there where they talk about the Kaaba and the spiritual effect that moving 7 times around the Kaaba has, and it's got something to do with energy, and energy moves anti-clockwise, etc. And at the end the comment is made, so if you are a non-Muslim, does it mean that you are now deprived because you don't have the opportunity of circumambulating the Kaaba 7 times? And the answer is then given, no, you're not deprived. Any ritual that you perform, as long as you're worshipping the one creator, and as long as you do it with dedication and sincerity, you can then draw the same benefit. So sometimes you can get carried away. Hey, look at what these guys are saying, it makes so much sense. Look at the dollar bill and the one eye and the pyramids. But we don't appreciate the potential harm or the harm in these kind of subtle messages that are coming across.
Yeah, Maulana, mashallah, I think you encompassed it very aptly. Just to follow up on that hadith, and we need to understand here that just as we need to follow hadith that are authentic, we equally need authentic interpretations of the hadith. This is very important. So a person could well present before you a hadith of Bukhari or Muslim or any other authentic book, but then the interpretation and the implementation and the application of that hadith might be a self-taught process, and that's not verified. And obviously this is exactly what we got. يَقَالُوا وَمَا لُبْتُهُ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. And then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave that يَوْمٌ كَالسَّنَةِ وَيَوْمٌ كَالشَّهْرِ. And then now to interpret this yawmun as that, this is completely batil, it's fasid, there's no basis to it. It doesn't feature as shaz also in the books of hadith or in the interpretations of hadith. So we need to understand this here very clearly, and this is also part of the overall plan where they present you with the hadith and a distorted interpretation of the hadith. So the text is original, it's authentic, but the interpretation is not verified by the scholars who enjoy the necessary sciences. So definitely, we need to understand it. Then on the second point, Maulana, and that's a very, very integral part, as-sahabatu kulluhum adul. I mean, we know when we talk of jarh and ta'adil, and it's a science that anybody who's familiar with hadith will know, where we analyze and scrutinize the profile and the biography of those who narrate the hadith. All this scrutiny goes through after Sahaba. No Sahabi is scrutinized, because the ruling is, and we know and fully understand that every Sahabi enjoys that closeness, that proximity, and that piety and nobility and virtue. Now if you concluding on this here, and we need to understand that there are turbulent periods in our history, there are volatile periods in our history, and there were skirmishes among the Sahaba. There's dedicated books that speak on Mushajaratu Sahaba.